Just posting to Facebook and we'll get started. Alrighty, hello everyone, and welcome to Ascendance Season 9 Sin City finale. Clap, 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 clap. I wish I had a clap button. Tonight, Josh and Matt will face off, where one of them will become the 9th winner of Ascendance. Since Josh won the final High Roller Challenge, he got to pick the order that opening and closing speeches were given. So Josh chose to go first for opening speeches, which means that he will close the closing speeches, and Matt will go second in opening and start the closing. So Josh, whenever you are ready, your 7 minutes will start.
All right. Hello, everybody. I guess I just want to say, thanks to everybody involved. And I'm going to try to give an overview of my game and be more open to very specific questions throughout the night. So it's my intention just to kind of give that overview here. As many of you know, and I wasn't shy about, I'm very new to the org scene. In fact, this is my first ever Skype game. And in my previous orgs, I was very frustrated by previous relationships in those games coming to haunt me later on. And so my beginning strategy coming into this game, the first thing I was thinking about was figuring out who already knew each other and who played with who. And that was very valuable as time went on. And that was my main strategy at the beginning. And even before that, when I decided to play this game, I only let myself play this game if I was going to give myself permission to play as hard as I could the entire time. And I think that I really respect everyone that's sitting here because everyone else here played hard too. And so that's just where my headspace is. And I think overall, I played a very well-rounded social, strategic, and competitive game, but it wasn't perfect. And I think there's a lot of times where I was flexible and adaptive, and those are the moments I'm most proud of and the most excited to talk about later tonight. But as I was saying, I felt at a disadvantage not knowing anyone, having had previous games go poorly with previous relationships. But I knew I had to make that my advantage and figure out who already knew each other and move into it that way. So as part of that, as I played up being naive about orgs in general too, specifically to Alex and Drew, I feel like I was trying to give them status over me, even in the early parts of the game, to feel like they knew more, they were giving me more information than I probably even needed. But that was intentional. Even to the point where Prod was asking me if they needed to help me out with posting to the pro boards because Alex was so concerned that I didn't know what I was doing. And that was intentional to give people status and give myself shields in front of me from the very beginning, but that were also close allies. And I guess just so moving into the game parts of it, I was also trying to figure out people's motivations for playing at the beginning stages. But then at the first vote, I feel like I already had enough social connections where the first time my name was coming out, Julian was putting out my name. People were coming to me telling me that my name was out and that they weren't going to vote for me. And I had already made good enough social connections at the beginning. And then I want to talk about how I intentionally built up my reputation as being a loyal player, because that I played that game because it was comfortable with me, but also because I knew that down the road it would help me out and people wouldn't suspect me when I needed to make moves. Okay, I'm gonna go quicker. Specifically with so that's in the Tawny vote. Everyone knew that Warren said Tawny's name, but Drew told Tawny that it was my name, and I could have flipped that around and I could have scrambled that, but I kind of took that on the chest on purpose because I wanted Drew to know that I was going to be loyal, like kind of no matter what was happening, and I was going to take that on. And so that Tawny vote was a huge moment, even when it tied. And I saw like what kind of players people were throughout the game. I think it just like locked in people. And when I said I was going to do something, people could trust that I was going to do those things. And I know that came in handy with like Matt down the road. So that was like a big turning like fork moment in the game for me. A big early game move I did was when the Tyler vote between Tyler and Andrew, and I knew that Tyler was going to be bad for my game, and all day it was consensus. People wanted to go consensus, and they weren't sure what was happening. I talked with Alex first to make sure that it was going to be Tyler. Then we went to Drew to make sure that that's where his head was at. And then I told people where my vote was, and I was building up this reputation of like, hey, this is where my head is at. I want you to know. I did that with Ray. I did that with Erica. And I know that that was a big moment for me, just understanding like Erica's perspective, because the title of that episode is The Bros Weren't Being Dicks Like You Were. Like I was just straightforward with my game and telling people where my head was at and like being honest with it. There's plenty of times I lied in this game, but usually when I said I was voting a certain way, that's like what I was doing. And there's a lot of learning curves in this game, and I'm not going to get to everything in this opening speech. Specifically, building teams was a learning curve for me, and I think I was adaptive to that. Specifically, when Eric and I picked teams, like those were really, I would have redone that a lot of times. And I feel like I redeemed that team building thing, and I figured it out on the Nolan and Jack vote when we spent basically a whole week figuring out. Drew and I worked together to figure out what those teams were going to look like for a whole week, and then went to Ray to figure it out, and then went to Jack and explained to the teams that we had set up to vote him or Nolan out to him, and made it him think that he was like figuring out with us. I think like that's when it made the most sense for me of how to play this game within like the specific rules of Ascendance. I took a lot of risks. I went to chips. There's a lot of things that I'm excited to talk about today, and I'll just wrap it up there because I have 30 seconds and I'll give the floor. I just want to say I'm going to be honest tonight, and I'm expecting hard questions, so come at it.
Alrighty, thank you, Josh. Matt, whenever you're ready, your 7 minutes will start.
I just wanted to start off by thanking production and everybody on the jury for making this game and this experience as rewarding and as challenging as it was for me all the way through. Like it was a really hard game with all the changing kind of dynamics of the game, with switching of teams round to round, and like trying to get to know different people. And everyone was playing really hard, and it made this such a rewarding and challenging experience. I'm very thankful for that, no matter what happens tonight. I'm thankful to be at this point and be able to do what I was able to do. And I'm thankful to have the chance to explain what I did in the game to you guys tonight with any questions that you have to ask me. Just to kind of summarize my game, I came in, I've played a few orgs before. I played one Skype org before, and I've done pretty well in a lot of them, but I haven't been able to break through and get to the end. And this game was about trying to figure out what the best strategy for me was, trying to pick the parts of my game that work to get me far in other games, but what was stopping me from getting to the end of those games and what was making it difficult for me to do that. I kind of come in with my strength of being like, understanding what it is to be Matt in the middle, if that makes any sense. I grew up as a middle child in my family. I was in a lot of different like clubs and groups in high school. I played football. I was on a bunch of different kind of clubs and teams, and I knew what it was like to straddle different social hierarchies. And I'm very used to being in the middle of a lot of different things. And I knew that in this game, there are very good merits to being in the middle of the game as far as the hierarchy of how people view people in the game. I never wanted to be seen as the leader of the pack or the runt in the litter in the back. I wanted to be in the middle. The middle of the pack is where you want to be. People in the front are too dangerous. They can't get to the end or else they're going to beat you. People in the back have to get lopped off because we're doing team challenges. And somebody's going to be the worst or somebody's not being active enough. They have to go because you don't know what they're going to do. I wanted to find myself in a sweet spot in the middle and talk to as many people as I could while also not talking to everybody. So I feel like if you have too many relationships with everybody, that makes you too much of a threat socially. I wanted to have people's names that I could throw out because I wasn't talking to them. So there were people that I purposely did not reach out to and never talk to, so that if anybody asked me, what do you want to do? I could say, oh, I want to vote at this person. Oh, this person's name is, they haven't talked to me. This is what I want to do. It gave me easy names to throw out. And I knew that those people would possibly be coming after me. And it was a calculated risk because I knew that their perception of me was that I wasn't talking to them either. So it's something that I did in my game that I really wanted to do to give myself options when I'm having conversations with people that I did want to trust. I also made it a point not to go too far in any of the relationships that I have had, especially early in the game. I wanted to show myself as an option. I wanted to show myself as somebody who would be, open to working with them and, be charmed by people. That was my thing. I wanted people to be visibly charmed by I wanted myself to come across as being visibly charmed by them. Because being charming is a big thing, but when you're flirting, you kind of want people to think that you're interested in them. That's how it works. And I kind of wanted people to think that I was interested in working with them. And it worked for me early in the game because I found myself in a lot of different groups, a lot of different alliances. And I was trying to figure out what I wanted to do with that place in the game. The big turning point for me was probably around the round where we split into 3 different teams. And there was the Best Western Hotel of all the people that were the cast-offs from the team pick, basically. I saw that as an opportunity to try to bring some people together that I had wanted to work with already. I had been working with Ray from early in the game. She was somebody that I really trusted. I knew that I really wanted to work with Erica, and I already had a pretty good relationship with Chris. I saw Brian in that team, and I thought that he didn't really have a home yet in the game. I thought he may have been talking to some people, but he had options. I was hoping to try to pull him in on this option on an emotional level. And everything really just came together really perfectly there because in the challenge itself, people were, the other 2 teams, Flamingo and Gold Nugget, were targeting our team in the challenge, trying to knock us all out. And I felt like I was one of the vocal people that made that like a rallying cry of like, we're underestimated. People don't want us to win. People don't want us to do well in this game. Let's work together to like make sure that we prove them all wrong. We want them to know that they've done messed up by counting us all out. I thought that was really what worked really well for me and got 4 of the 5 people in the OG Best Western hotel from that round to the final 5. We only had 1 casualty that happened before jury and a surprise vote to me. And even that was very eye-opening to me as far as what I wanted to do towards the end of the game, because it let me know kind of where things lay and what I needed to do to get to the end. My game is very much about like keeping as many options open as possible. That's how I've played all these games every time I've ever played. I've wanted to keep as many options open as possible and give myself maximum flexibility. But the thing that would always trip me up is trying to make things work because I wanted them to work and not seeing what was working and going with it. There were a lot of things that I would have wanted to do. Once I started talking to Jack, Jack was a person that I thought it was a big misconnection for me. If me and Jack had been on more teams early in the game, he's someone that I totally would want to work with. We see the game very similarly. We talk the same way. We both love puns. I love Jack as a person, but because of the way that the game worked out, I couldn't work with him towards the end of the game. And I had to look at what was working and not what I wanted to make work. And what was working for me was the people that I had ridden with from OG Best Western up until that point, and the relationship that I had started to build with Josh through the middle of the game, particularly through my relationship with Alex. He helped me really reach out to Josh and get, build a relationship with Josh. So I think the biggest thing that I did in this game was, putting my ego aside and stop trying to look at it and being like, I can make this work, or this is what I want to happen. And I looked at it and said, what is working for me? What is the thing that makes the most sense for me to move forward? And once we got down to basically the chip draw to see who's going to go home, I saw my path towards the end and I locked in on it. And I made it the rallying cry of like, we have to stick together. I love you guys. This is our group. We have to stick together. This is what we're doing. We're together. I'm not going anywhere. I'm 100% locked in. I was really made it a rallying cry to be like, we have to be locked in together. We can't let anybody do anything different. We can't let anybody do any flips. And there were opportunities. People could have flipped and done stuff with Brian. People could have tried to make something happen with Jen once the numbers were dwindling to see if they can get rid of stronger players. I knew that the way that I had set up my perception in the game, that I wasn't going to be one of the top people to go once that chip draw happened. And if things kept on going on the trajectory that they're going on, I was going to be in final 3 and hopefully had a chance to get to the final 2. And I look forward to answering all your questions. I only have like 15 seconds left, but that was my mindset in this game, just trying to figure out the way to correct those wrongs that I've had in other games. I look forward to answering all your questions.
Alrighty, thank you, Matt. Nolan, you are up first. You have 7 minutes. And before you get started, we get this every season. If a member of the jury does not use all of their time, I know sometimes the later members of the jury have more questions than the beginning members. I do add time on if there's extra. That's for everyone. So Nolan, whenever you're ready, go ahead.
Perfect. First off, congratulations, Josh, and congratulations, Matt. Both well-deserved. On behalf of the jury, I just want to both let you know that it's very up in the air. We're very indecisive, and I'm really looking forward to hearing all your answers. So my first question is going to be for you, Josh. During the game, I found like your social game lacked. I felt like you really almost belittled me or talked down to me in most of our conversations. You never seemed interested. It took you way too long to respond, in my opinion, to really simple questions, even saying hi. Even when you voted for me, it took me way too long, and me actually messaging you first to even get a, hey, sorry for voting for you. I felt like even when you knew I was going home, you still didn't try to put in any connection for jury management. And then I thought maybe I was an isolated case. But as more and more jury members came, it felt like this was an ongoing thing. So I want you to explain your social game and your jury management, as I felt like you left a really bad taste in my mouth with how you treated me in the game.
Yeah, of course. I do think probably one of my biggest flaws was jury management, and I think I was very focused on what the next step was. And I think at the same time, my personality is like, I would never want to feel like I was like pandering a person or like making them feel good on their way out. I know that Jack specifically said I was really blunt when I talked to him the last time, but for me, I was just trying to be straightforward and being honest. And so, yeah, in hindsight, that is a big mistake. I know Nolan, for like you and I personally, I felt some of the same things you just said. Like I felt like our connection just on a personal level never felt really good. And I think that I wish I had tried harder. You know, the not responding to messages thing is fair. And so all I can say is like, you're right. I'm sorry that I made you feel bad on your way out. But at the same time, I also really respect you as a player. And sometimes I was nervous of like giving you anything because I knew you could take it and do stuff with it. And so that's my answer.
Alrighty, thank you. And for Matt, my question for you is, which vote did you orchestrate? During the Andrew vote, I really felt like you came to me and you were pushing Jack. It was you were trying to make a move. And even though it didn't work out for you, partly my fault, I want to know what move after that was you pushing the name and you get working on your agenda of who you wanted
out. As far as like pushing my agenda after that, I felt like I didn't need to do that. And that's part of me putting my ego aside a little bit, because a lot of the votes after that kind of just fell into place. Jack was the next person that was supposed to go. And that worked for me because I tried to get, like, once you went out, it was going to be Jack next. That was who I was trying to get out in the Andrew vote. So I was like, okay, like if that's what everybody wants to do, I'm fine with doing that. And then after that, it was supposed to be Brian, but then people came to me and told me that Jen and Drew had been saying my name and they wanted to save me. I didn't really have any preference of which one of them went home, as long as people that I was going to be working with were going to be working with me. So I was fine as long as Josh, Erica, and Ray were cool with whichever one of them went home. It didn't really matter to me which one at that point. We just needed to get rid of somebody else that wasn't going to be me. That vote went to a tie. We went to rocks, and I have to admit, I got lucky. Like Drew drew the wrong rock, and that was the exact person that I needed to draw the wrong chip. Because once he went home, I saw the exact path of how it was going to go. We lined it up easily. It was going to be Jen next, then Brian. We were going to be in the final four. That was the plan. And once the final four came around, I knew that if Josh had kept on winning the challenges, that I had a very good chance of getting to the final two, to be honest with you. I knew that the final three was probably going to be me, and it was either going to be me, Ray, and Erica, or me, Ray, and Josh. And I knew that in either case, I had a good shot to get the final 3 and give myself a chance to get the final 2. So I didn't need to push any votes, and I didn't need to like have the credit for being the one that said the name. We had a game plan at that point, and my credit that I'll take, if anything, is that I really stuck on brand of like, we have to work together. This is the group. Let's lock in. That's all I did. Everything else, I put my ego aside, didn't need the credit for it in that way.
Perfect. Well, thank you, Matt. And thank you, Josh. Good luck to both of you. Great job on your opening speeches. And I will pass it along.
Alrighty, up next we have Jack.
Hi, everybody. I hope you guys are having a good night so far. Josh, I don't really have a question I need to ask you. Do you think that's a good or a bad thing?
I think it's a good thing.
Okay, interesting. I really wanted to talk to Matt, and I'm actually going to kind of piggyback on what Nolan was talking about. Because Nolan was saying that, what vote did you control? And you said everything kind of just fell into place. And that's sort of my concern with your game and me awarding it a win, is that I don't feel like you made it to the end. I feel like you are at the end. So I want to give you a chance to rebut that and give some commentary to sway me.
I think that wouldn't be the case for me. I didn't just make it to the end. I put a lot of work into positioning myself the way that I did towards the end of the game. I put myself in a position to get to the end, and yes, I had some lucky breaks. Anybody that gets to the end is going to have a lucky break here or there. The chip draw going the way that it did was a huge break for me, considering who went home in that break. That was a huge break that I got. But other than that, I put myself in a position to get to that point. Once Drew went, I knew that I was in a position to make it to the final 3 in almost any scenario. As long as we made sure that Jen didn't win a challenge, and as long as Brian didn't win a challenge.
Can you harp a little bit on that position making that you did before the rock draw? That's what I'm interested in.
So the position that I really wanted to put myself in was being in a group with people and never being the main person that should go from that group. And it was dangerous in the rock draw because my name was out there. I don't think it was because I was the most dangerous player. I think it was because people were a little bit worried about voting for Ray. Maybe she had a power or something like that. I don't know why people didn't want to vote for Ray. Oh, sorry, she was safe. Sorry. We gave her safety in that vote. I'm trying to remember what happened. Yeah, so Erica gave Ray safety. We discussed that whichever one of us didn't get safety was going to be the one that's going to get the votes in this. But I was very much sure of like, let's just ride this. I'll take the heat on this one. And if we all stick together, we will have a chance to get to where we want to get to. Knowing that in the back of my mind, like Josh would be the only person that was going to be at risk at that moment, which it sucked. I didn't want him to go home, but as long as I was still going to have Ray and Erica still with me, I had myself in a solid position with those people. And once the rock draw happened the way it did, the positioning was basically there.
Okay.
Ray was going to be the biggest target ahead of me. I was in a position where I was in 2 threes within the group of 4 that we had, which was Josh and Ray, Erica and Ray. And no matter what, I felt like I was going to get to the final 3.
All right. Thanks for explaining it further. Like I said, I don't really care about what happened after the rock draw because I think you explained that well. And you've talked a little bit about how you've played the middle, and I really respect that as someone who tried to do the same and had it not work out for me the way that I wanted it to. I think that is, unless I'm going to make sure I've got thoughts collected. I don't want to waste all of the jury's time and make sure that people later down the line who have a lot that they want to say get the opportunity to do so. And my headset keeps changing, which is also fun. So I hope you can all still hear me. Oh, good. Zoom is a whole thing. All right. I think that is going to be it. So I'm going to yield the rest of my time. Best of luck with the rest of the night. I think it's only harder from here.
All righty. Thank you so much, Jack. Drew, whenever you're ready, your 7 minutes starts.
Thanks, Papa. I first want to congratulate the both of you. I do think you both played 2 very different games, and you should be proud of where you are. Now, I didn't write anything down. I probably should have because I ramble a lot, as most of you know. I'm not going to be asking you any questions, Matt. I'm listening to those after me who ask you the questions. My primary focus is on Josh because I think I have a lot of unfinished business with Josh. So that's where I'm going to put most of my time here. So, hello, Joshua. I'm digging the haircut. It's great. Okay, so I have some questions and then I'll have some statements for you. So make sure you're paying attention well. So as of right now, in your honest opinion, how many jury votes do you think you have?
5.
Okay. Who are the 2 you don't think you have?
I would say I'm like 50% on like a couple, and I think a couple will go my way, a couple won't. I'm not sure about Erica, Brian, Nolan, or I would say those 2 of the 3 of those might not go my way.
Okay. So I do want to preface this. I know you because I played this entire game with you since round 1. So I do know the real Josh, but I think you left a very sour taste in a majority of the jury's mouth. And that is not a good thing on your part. So you feeling like you have 5 votes is a little much. I think during this jury portion of the game, you really need to humble yourself a little more and be the Josh that I know you are. So in order to get jury votes, I think you're going to need, you've already started a little bit, but you're going to need to be super apologetic and mean it. And I just think you are going to have to, let me see if I can word this the right way. Not try to work on your jury management, because I will tell you, the moment I left, you had not just from the people before me, but people that came after me, a lot of poor taste in their mouth, and that was really bad. So when I said you were playing for second, I was not lying. So this is the moment where I want you to prove that you do deserve to win. Because again, I do know the game you played. I think you played a very calculated and great game. So I will say, I was upset with you and you left a poor taste in my mouth when I left, only because of the wording that you used. And I know it's through text, so I'm trying not to read too much into that. But I don't hate the game move that you did, because that was a smart move on your part, because Jen and I would have cut you at probably 4. So that was a smart move on your part. So I commend you for that. But I just think you need to be more personable and connect to people on a personal level. Like I know that we have had, I keep on saying the real Josh. I saw the real Josh this whole entire game. So I want you to show that side of you to everyone else, and not just be this game body Josh that you've been portraying to people. I don't know. I know I have 3.5 minutes, but I do just want to say I am super proud of you. I don't hate you for the move you made. I thought it was a stellar move and smart move. You clearly played me well. So kudos to you. But please take my things that I've said to heart while you're answering these next questions, because like Nolan said, so many people are up in the air. So humble yourself, be truthful and honest, and just show emotion. Do the Josh that I know you are, because I am rooting for you. And that is not as mean as I wanted to, because the moment I left, it was really weird not being able to talk to you every single day, because I had talked to you every single day. So I even said I missed Josh, even after I was grilling you in the jury. So I am wanting to vote for you, but you really, really, really need to take my considerations into heart. So that's really all I have. I'm surprised I only took 3.5 minutes, but good luck to the both of you. May the best man win.
Can I respond to Drew? So thank you so much for saying that. Like, I know sometimes I get like so wrapped up in my head, and you were, at the end of the day, one of the best like relationships we had. I felt I had like on a personal level. And I know that I have a lot of like apologies to make later on. I know like you was a game move. You and Ray were like the hardest things I did. And I think after you went Drew, like it was hard for me to connect personally to people, because it was so hard for me to make a connection and then cut it. And I didn't realize that was going to happen to me. I'd never like have kind of been that person. And the game wasn't as fun after you left. And that was hard for me. And right when I left, like Ray saw like how kind of like distraught I was, and I'll always appreciate her like reaching out and seeing if I was like okay emotionally. So like I want you to know, like, I put out Jen as like, I mean, Abel, I orchestrated that vote, and I was pushing Jen because it was like for puzzle comp purposes, but I also didn't want you to go, and that wasn't even a good game move. It's just because I liked talking to you, and like I liked, you know, just hanging out. Like you said, we talked every day, and I think you did see like the most real version of me. And I appreciate that, and I know that not everyone did, and I think I turned myself off to people that I didn't see game moves with, and that's because I didn't want to fake with people, because faking, that's like so hard for me personally. Like I did try to play an honest, genuine game because I didn't like lying to people. And so like when I was brunt with Jack, I didn't want to lie anymore. I lied to him the whole week, and that was hard for me. And same with Brian, and Jen afterwards too. So I'm sorry, and thank you for the words.
You're very welcome, Josh. And again, I definitely consider you one of my closest friends in this game, and I hope it
Wrap
carries.
it up.
Hope it carries through after. So good luck to the both of you.
Alrighty, thank you, Drew. Jen, you are up next. Your 7 minutes starts whenever you're ready.
Oh, I'm ready for this. Okay, so my first question is for both of you. You laid out your game plan, but neither one of you mentioned me. And I'm sitting here enjoying. Where do I fall into your game? Start there. Josh, you're first.
One of the last things Alex told me before he left is that Drew and Jen were super, super close. And so I knew if I ever needed a Jen vote for any reason, specifically the Chris Blind side, I could work that through Drew. And so I knew there was like a number +1, but I also knew you were a threat immediately. From the second you said you held the cups for over an hour and then your internet cut out in that first challenge, I was immediately like just impressed and intimidated and scared of your game. And so having kind of that buffer with Drew in the middle is how I approached working with you.
So using Drew as a buffer. Okay, that's good. Matt, your turn.
For the early portion of the game, you were a big part of my game as far as like the different alliances that I had. Our alliance, our 905 alliance with me, you, and Andrew was very much a thing for me, especially early in the game. It was something that I wanted to keep as far as the game as possible, knowing that you were a pretty big threat and you could have been a shield for me in that sense. And I was hoping that you'd stay true to that alliance. Once Andrew went, I knew that it was going to be hard for you to stay true because you didn't really know what happened. It would be hard for you to believe that I didn't know anything about it. At which point I decided that I couldn't make that work. And I knew that you were going to be a threat and people would want you out eventually. And I was just waiting for the right time for when it was going to happen. And when it happened, it was the perfect right time. Because I feel like if we didn't get you out, you would have been sitting in one of these seats and not one of us.
Okay, fair enough. But my other question for the both of you is you shared the immunity back and forth in those back-to-back rounds. Matt, you're going to go answer first on this one. You said that you were giving it to Josh based on the fact that he came in second. Is that true, or is it based on an alliance thing?
We hadn't had a formal alliance to that point. It was an easy thing for me to say because I didn't want to piss off people that were in my alliance, which were people that might have expected me to give it to them. I wanted to be able to tell people that I gave it to him because he came in second. Really, one of the considerations that I had is that I knew that he was good at some of these challenges, and that if down the line he won a challenge, he might give me immunity back. And our alliance started to build from that point on. That's where it really kind of started to get really tight.
Yeah, no, that's fine. I just wanted a quick answer to that. Josh, same for you. Did you give it back because he gave it to you, or was it based on an alliance that was forming?
An alliance that was forming.
Okay. And the other thing is, Josh, you seem to think you have 5 votes. I'm going to tell you guys very clearly, the first 5 jurors, it was unanimous. Ray was going to win if she was sitting in the finals, contrary to popular belief. So you seem to think that I wasn't one of the names that you're worried about. So I guess you think you have my vote. Why? That's my question.
I guess now I don't know. Now I have no idea, and I feel like I'm fighting. I came in fighting. I do think, Jen, that I was getting to originally, I really respect the game you play, and I think that your perspective on the game is you respect the game, and I think that at the end of the day you'll respect that I won a lot of competitions, that I made big moves and I made big risks. I am regretting some social decisions, and I am hoping to own up to those tonight. But I do think you are someone who will respect.
What's the big move you made? If you made big moves, what are those big moves?
The first one I think was really pushing for the Chris vote. I think I worked subtly through Drew and Alex to make sure that didn't land on Ray, because I knew I was going to be able to work with Ray later. The other big move is the second that you told me that you wanted to push Matt for Brian, I was already working on that to happen after Brian had gone. But when you said you wanted Matt before Brian, I immediately started working to get consensus on that vote, to vote for you instead of Matt. And I mean, I think that is a big move that I made.
So my other thing is, like, if you guys considered me such a huge threat, you knew that, okay, yes, puzzles are my thing, okay? Physical competitions, I cannot do. I sat there with one coin, put 3 coins on me and I'm out, okay? So why was I such a huge threat when I couldn't do the physical thing? And Josh, your last statement to me was you had to get me out because of puzzles. We had done 2 puzzles the entire game, 2. So how is puzzles a huge factor in me leaving?
Because I think puzzles were going to come down to something at the end. And I thought I could beat anyone. I was confident at any challenge potentially. And so like puzzle, just that was the one thing that I was like, if it came up, you were going to beat me and there wasn't a question about it. So I was just eliminating that as an option. And yeah, that was my reasoning.
For me, you being a strong player, yes, came down to your ability to do puzzles, but for me, it was more your ability to push what you wanted to have happen. The fact that you were able to push me so easily, even though me and you were, I thought we were kind of working together, it made me know, like, I just knew that you were never all 100% honest with me after the Andrew vote particularly, and I knew that you were very strong in pushing your agenda, and that anything that you could have wanted to have happen, you could have made happen with certain people, and at a certain point, I needed to get you out before the numbers dwindled enough for you to have the options to do that.
My last question for you, Josh, is when I shared the information with you about the gauntlet, did you tell anyone else, or did you use that against us, me and Drew somehow? Or were you 100% in the mindset you were working with Drew and I at that point?
Yeah, I was 100% in the mindset of working with you two at that point. Ray asked me if I had practiced anything specifically. I lied to her at that moment. And yeah, I was with 100% with you until Jack, Nolan, and Brian were gone in my head. I already knew I had to flip at that point. I did end up telling Ray, you told me that power after I think you had already gone.
Mm-hmm. Okay, that's it. That's all I have. Good luck to the both of you.
Alrighty, thank you, Jen. Each juror will get 8 minutes now because there's enough time left over for the last 3 to have that. So, Brian, whenever you're ready, your 8 minutes will start.
Hello, Final Two. I would like to say congratulations, and I am envious of you, but I'm really mad at you, especially Josh, for lots of reasons. But one, because you robbed me from getting to vote for Ray Ann. I would like to take a moment to give her a standing ovation for a great game played. I think you two should as well, because she was going to win. Ray Ann, great job. But now I must address the Final Two. I'm not going to be as brutal as many of these people. I don't think I'm going to give you both a fair shot. And I'm a very positive person, so I'm all about positivity. And it's a cutthroat game. So here's what I'm going to ask you both to do. Josh, I want you to talk up Matt's game and why I should vote for Matt. And Matt, I want you to talk up Josh's game and why I should vote for him. If you have any questions, let me know. Josh, you may start.
I told Matt this last night at our Final Two look back, and I do mean it in that I think he's played a subtle game. I really enjoy talking to Matt personally. Just hearing him answer these questions, I can tell he's just better with people than I am, and I respect that so much. And that's like why I liked having him around for me personally and around other people. I think he played the middle well, and he did what he is saying he did. And like we had like a couple times we tried to work together, it didn't work out. but when it did come together, we were both flexible enough to like make it happen. And I like really respect that in him. And I think it's something that I try to do as well. And I just think he's a cool person, and he's good with people.
Do you think he's worthy of the win should he win tonight?
No.
Okay, Matt, you may answer the first question that I had for you.
Yeah, I feel like Josh is a very strong competitor, especially at these challenges down the end. It's not like I was trying to beat him in a lot of them and he was just winning. Like, he was very good at the challenges. I also find that he was a really good person to talk to once we were able to start getting to talk. I appreciate that he didn't write me off at the beginning when we didn't have a lot of connections at the beginning of the game, and we were able to connect later on in the game and build trust from that point on. And the thing that I could probably appreciate about him most is that at every vote that I was with him at, he said that he was going to do something and then he did it. And that was really something that I appreciated as in my game. And one of the reasons why I really wanted to work with him from when I started to work with him about halfway through the game at about the jury phase of the game is because every time I had been in a vote with him, he did exactly what he said he was going to do. And I respected that about him.
Matt, should Josh win tonight, do you think he's a worthy winner?
Not with me sitting here, but yeah.
Okay, I still have some time left, so I have a question for you, Matt. At the final 7, at the live night, it was a very pivotal point of the game. Do you think you had, because you were the vote that night for me, Jen, and Drew, do you think you had influence on getting Josh not to vote for you, or do you think he made the decision on his own?
I think he made the decision to go with people that he thought he would be able to beat at competitions later in the game. I thought he viewed us as the weaker in the competitions, and in that sense, it was the right decision. That being said, it was also the right decision for me because I knew that I wanted somebody that was strong enough to win a bunch of the competitions that would help me get further in the game as well. So it didn't hurt me to have him come on my side. And I also definitely gave him credit for sticking with me, especially on the revote, because he could have flipped and it would have been me going home. At the same time, I don't feel like he could have gone back on what he had started doing at that point because it would have been hard for him to get to the end at that point. So I feel like he kind of, once he made the decision to do it, he was locked in it and he had to go to the chip draw at that point. So I give him credit for that, but I also think that the relationship that me and him had started to build before that vote came into play there as well.
Okay, and Josh, I want to ask you about your position in the game. At what points in the game, if at all, you think you did something to better your position to like get you to where you are today?
Yeah, I think there's a few times. Specifically, Jack mentioned in his jury thing that Alex leaving was the biggest move in the game or one of the biggest occurrences. I agree. Alex was like my number one ally, and him leaving threw a big wrench in my game. My position was washed. Andrew, my other good ally, was gone, and I had to figure a way to be flexible, adaptive, and move forward from that point. And that was to double down on Drew. I put more trust in Jack than I probably should have. And I also started working with Jen. I know earlier I said it was a buffer, but we were working together, and yeah, there was that point. And also, very specifically, I had been nurturing a relationship with Ray the entire game, and pushing votes away from her. And I knew at that point that it was going to be possible to work with her once Alex was gone, which she was kind of hinting at. But I also like really dove into that relationship when Alex left.
Okay, I thank you both for your answers. I just want to make one final statement. I commend you both for playing the games that you thought you had to make, and ultimately they were successful. They got you here, and no one can take that away from you. My vote, I hope the person I don't for isn't mad at me for voting the winner. I'm going to vote for who I think deserves the win, and I commend you both for making it there. Congratulations.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Brian. Up next, we have Erica. Whenever you're ready, your 8 minutes will start.
Hey guys, congratulations to both of you. I'm so happy for both of you, and you should both be super proud of yourselves for how far you made it. It takes a lot of work to get to the final 2 in Ascendance. That's enough of that. Matt, I just want to give you a special shout out because you were just the most excellent ally anyone could ask for in a game like this. And I don't think you said one negative word about anyone this entire game. I don't think you said anything negative about anyone sitting here on the jury tonight. Not before they left, not after they left, not ever. And it's kind of hard to do that in a game like this. So thank you for your just character and integrity. My question for both of you would be, which member of the jury are you most concerned will not vote for you to win tonight? And what would you like to say to them to try to change their mind? And Josh, we can start with you.
That's a really good question because I feel like there's a few people I really want to talk to. I know Ray's coming up next. I think that's really my answer, but I'm going to give her the space to ask me questions after this. I guess I want to talk to Nolan because just from the first, hearing people say that I like left a bitter taste in their mouth, like just really does like eat me up. And I think a lot of like me growing up as like into like a man and like just in general, I've always received the feedback that people thought I was kind of cold and uninterested. And I think that's just like a personality thing because I'm afraid to like, and it's like connect, but I just don't have like the warmth that Erica you do. I described you to people the very first time after the first meeting that you had screen presence and you have like a warmth and a glow and like people are attracted to you. And to like Nolan, I feel like we actually are pretty similar in the sense that like we're just kind of like, I feel like the way you describe me, I heard other people kind of talk about you that way too, ironically. And I think that we're just kind of like similar people. And I just want to like apologize and say that like I'm sorry that I came across that way. I really respect your game, and like that's again like why it was hard to talk with you because I knew you were moving around so many places, and I was nervous about like giving you even like a little piece of information, and it was easier just to not have those conversations at all. But you know, when we did talk about basketball, it was a good time, and like I feel like we did have some sort of social relationship. And just because of the game wise, I regret turning off social relationships because the game didn't make sense for me.
Thanks, Josh. And I would like to hear from Matt.
I would like to direct this, I guess, at Drew, just because I feel like Drew is a person that I didn't have the tightest connection with throughout the game. We talked most days, but not every day. I don't think we got into a video call until very late in the game. It's not that I didn't want to create a relationship with you. It's that I knew in creating a relationship with you, I would want to make that work for me in the game. And everything that I was hearing from everybody else was how well connected you were, how good you were playing. And I didn't want to put that in my brain of something that I needed to try to make work to help myself get further in the game. I wanted to be able to get a vote on you and be able to vote with you without having any pain on my conscience, just because I know that you are, like, from our conversations, you're such a great guy. I know that we had a couple great text exchanges when we were both having a rough spot in the game of just like certain people going home that we weren't expecting, how hard it is to have people go out and not, respect, like say that they're not respecting you or the way that you conducted yourself in the game. And like, that was a real conversation. I really appreciated that. But it was that moment that I knew that like, you were really good and I couldn't risk getting too attached to you at that point. And I hope that you can respect that and see like that it was a game move for me at that point, and that I do think that you're a really great person. I really enjoyed the talks that we did have, and I had to keep things at a bit of an arm's length just to be able to maneuver through the game, because if I didn't, I would have been sobbing every day voting out all of you people, just because everybody that I played with, you guys are all really incredible people. And each one of you I had a conversation with that was really important and meaningful to me. And just being able to talk to you guys every day was really meant the world to me, to be able to play with you guys. And you guys all challenged me in different ways to like play this game. And this game is already hard enough, and playing with such great players, it's a blessing and it's a curse. And I feel very lucky to be able to get to this point. And yeah, you guys made me work.
Awesome. I will yield the rest of my time to Rayanne, I suppose, because that's it. Oh.
Hey, thank you, Erica. Ray, you will have, I guess, 10 minutes since she had like 2.5 minutes left. So, floor is yours. You're on mute.
Well, okay. I don't think I have 10 minutes worth of material. So like after I'm done, I'm just gonna let y'all talk as much as you want. But I guess my first question, just my usual question that I ask when I'm on a jury is what was the worst part of your game? Like, what was like the time you felt like the most on the bottom, and how did you recover it? Let's start with Josh.
I think the worst part of my game has been highlighted well enough here from like a social standpoint. I do think that like from a learning perspective, I mentioned earlier that like building teams was something I didn't even understand how to do at first. And then moving forward, I figured out like what it meant to like really put time and effort and work with people and get opinions on teams ahead of time. Being said, I guess the social part, I think I'm trying to reconcile that right now in a way that like I didn't even realize earlier today I needed to. I have 2 pages of notes here that are meaningless to me right now, and I'm really just trying to like be open and honest, and I think that like I'm really going to for the next 10 minutes try to do that. So I hope people are open to me not fixing, but closing out this game in that way.
Matthew?
The toughest stretch for me as far as like figuring out what I was going to do in the game was definitely the stretch where Chris, Andrew, and Alex went home all 3 in a row, just because they were 3 different people that I wasn't working with together, but they all were connective tissue for me with other people in other groups. And it made me realize that like trying to play the middle was going to be a lot harder without them, because I felt like I had their trust and that I trusted them and they trusted me, and they were connective tissue for me to be able to talk to certain people in the game and know what was going to go on. I feel like I really recovered from that by basically doubling down on the OG Best Western group, you and Erica particularly. So at that point, I felt like I couldn't trust Brian as much, but I wasn't like, I didn't want to completely ostracize him, but I didn't really trust him as much. I knew I could trust you two, and I knew that I wanted to build a relationship with Josh. And I knew that building a relationship with Josh would be my bridge to get through the rest of the game. Being able to build a relationship with him and giving him the immunity when I won that immunity at the Scamming Horse race, and just putting in that effort at that point in the game with somebody that I had missed that connection with early in the game, and not, being so concerned with the fact that I missed the connection early and started only building it about halfway through. I know it started late, and it was something that was really strong for me and helped me get through the rest of the game and got me to this point, particularly because of how I was able to recover from 3 people that I really had factored into my jury and post-jury plans.
Okay, then my next question is, they're basically like the same question, but for Matthew, would you have cut me at the end?
If I'm being honest, I probably would have, just because I knew that you were going to win, and it would have been the hardest thing that I would have had to do at that point in the game. But I don't know. People seem to think that it was under the radar thing, that you were going to do good with the jury and be a strong player with the jury. I knew from early on in the game that you were going to be a strong player towards the end of the game. It's one of the reasons why I wanted to connect with you as much as I did early. And like, I loved all our conversations, everything like that, but I knew that you were going to be a power broker in the game, and you were somebody that I really wanted to work with from early on. And I knew that if I had the chance at the end, that I couldn't go to the end with you if I wanted to win.
Okay, now my question for Josh is like basically the same question. So why did you lie to me going into the end? After.
Yeah. I guess like first of all, like I'm so sorry. I think that like my game bot head took over, and I felt like I had to make that promise in case you won, which you got very close to, in case you were in a position to take me. And I hated it so much. And like I'm sorry. And like I couldn't even put like a heart on your name when I sent you out, because I just felt bad. Like it just felt so terrible. And like, you know how bad I felt after Drew left? Like it was like that, and so much worse, because I was just like floating alone. And obviously I was like proud that I made it. And you're gonna hate to hear it, but go look at the fan poll that's on the Facebook, and you're beating everyone like 30-1. It's like, I didn't have a shot if you were sitting there. And especially if I brought you there, you know, like you were the social threat. If I took you, that's like the biggest like feather in your hat, which is what I told Matt before the vote. But you know, I guess I lied to you. I probably shouldn't have, but I don't know. It's just I wanted to win so bad, and if that was another way to get to the end, that's just like felt like what I had to do. So I'm sorry. You're smiling. I don't know if it's a good smile or bad smile.
No,
But
like I was lying to you too, so it's okay. All I could say is, does anyone on the jury have questions? I look in the jury chat and just like read them out. No, we good? Oh. Okay, you really need to persuade us with your closing statements. I think a lot of us are still up in the air. We don't have any like, it doesn't seem like we have any serious questions. Jack wants to throw out some jokes, but I'm not going to take him up on it. Josh, they appreciated the honesty, but like I said, I think we need to like I guess I'll let you two like talk a bit more. I feel like you aren't highlighting a lot of what I found really fascinating about your games. Like Matthew, I think something you did really well was making sure your allies knew that you were close to them. Like, you know, you highlighted it, but you're not telling like the actions. Like you were the reason why I got my power. You were the reason why like Erica got her power. And like that you were the reason why a lot of us got our power, like me and Josh. But I think, didn't we put like, not Josh, someone else put powers with you. Like, should you like talk more about your chip game? Because you had you did a lot with chips.
Yeah, I didn't. Most of my chips I didn't keep. I always gave them to people that I was working with so that they could get powers. One, because I wanted to know what the powers were, obviously, but I felt that it was valuable to build relationships with people, particularly show people that I was already had relationships with, that I trusted them completely and I wanted to work with them. That was my big rallying cry with any of the alliances that I was in, that I was really like super serious about, was to affirm as much as possible, I'm with you. This is what we're doing. Let's work together. Stay strong. Let's keep doing this. And I was completely honest with that. I would have gone to the end with anybody that was in OG Best West if I had the choice of doing it in that way, because I wanted to get to the final five with that group. Because I've told you guys from that day, one, because it was advantageous to me, because I thought there were threats in that group that were ahead of me. Obviously, I could ride the middle of that group a lot. And two, because I just felt really connected with you guys after we kind of were all the people that people didn't choose to be in that challenge, to be on the teams in that challenge. And it was something that I felt strongly about, like boosting your games and wanting to help you guys be as best versions of yourself they could be, and help me be the best version of myself that I could be. Just because I feel like Erica said it perfectly. I don't want to say bad things about anybody. I don't like saying bad things about anybody in the game when they're in or when they've left. I respect everybody and I want it to be as respectful as possible while still playing a hard game and still trying to ride the game that I know can get me as far as possible, which was playing the middle as much as possible, being flexible, but also letting people that I wanted to work with the most know that I wanted to work with them in any way that I could.
Okay, now, Josh, I know people are like really shitting on your social game, but something that I really liked about you was that I felt with the people that you were really good with, your social game was phenomenal. Like, you're very charming. Like, up until like the last day, I really thought you were gonna take me. So can you like highlight how you managed your allies? Because I feel like you did a good job there.
Yeah, I think similar to Matt, like if I was with you, I made you feel like I was like 100% with you. I know I did that with Drew. I know I did that with Jack. And I haven't talked much about Jack tonight, which I think is a shame, maybe because he didn't ask me a question. But I feel like we were really good at the early part of the game and really appreciated that relationship. Ray, like you and I, like we were close like from the beginning, even though we weren't aligned on a lot of votes. Same with Drew. The first person I had to send a message to. And I watched all those intro videos and I was figuring out things people liked said about themselves. And like, I was trying to like hone in on things and ask people questions. And I feel like I learned a lot about everyone sitting here, whether you realize it or not. Like, I feel like I know all you personally pretty well. And like I said, if you were with me, I made you feel like you were until you weren't, but that was for the game.
Well, thank
Right.
y'all. Good luck. Mwah. It was fun.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Ray Ann. We will now go into closing statements. You each will get 7 minutes. Matt, you will go first.
The way that I see a lot of people approach games like this is very rigid and very like, I need to build a blueprint to get myself to the end. And this is exactly how I got to do it. This person has to go, this person has to go, then this person has to go next. In riding the middle, I knew that if you're going to do that strategy, you have to be egoless and you have to be flexible. You can't be concerned about making sure that everyone knows that you got the credit for what is happening in the game, because like if you're getting credit for it, you're not being in the middle. The whole point of being in the middle is being unseen. You're supposed to be in the middle of the pack where people are ahead of you and people are behind you that people want to get out. You need to find the right way, the right balance of like doing what you need to do to get to the end, but not drawing too much attention to yourself. I don't view it as like building this path or like building this perfect building to get to the top of Ascendance. I viewed it as kind of like surfing or walking a tight wire. You have to be adaptable. You have to be able to keep your balance, and you have to be able to see the way things are going and move the way that things are happening and not the way you want them to happen. And that is the biggest difference in this game than games that I had played in the past. In the past, I tried really hard to make things work just because I had emotional connections with people, or I really like the narrative of the idea of me doing this thing with this person, or whoa, we were enemies at the beginning. What if we worked together at the end? That would be awesome for the story of the game. This game, I looked at what was happening and I knew that I had to play an under the radar game, and a game that would keep targets ahead of me, but also put me in a position to have options and to get to the end almost no matter what, if I could help it. And I felt like I got to that point, particularly at the end, at the final 3. I was fairly certain. I wasn't 100% sure because I can never be 100% sure of anything in this game. I was always pretty paranoid about what could happen and whether or not people were lying to me about certain things. But I felt pretty reasonably assured that at the final 3, that Josh was going to take me and that Ray would take me to the final 2 no matter what. And I took a risk in going to that group because I knew that they had a relationship with each other, but I knew that they both saw each other as their biggest competition. And that was the whole point of my game. I didn't want to be seen as the biggest competition to get to the final 2. I wanted to be able to get there and be able to explain to people what I did. And what I did was ride the middle. What I did was push things when I needed to push things. I was a vocal person in the coming together and the keeping together of the OG Best West for as long as it was. I really pushed hard of the underdog narrative and like, let's work together. People don't respect us. That was one of the things that I was really proud of in the game, was how that group came together and how I was vocally in the challenge itself, riding for the people that were on my team that round and wanted us to work together. And I think that I did a really good job of getting people to work together and keeping us together as long as we were able to. The people that I was most loyal to in that group, 2 of them were with me in the final 4. That's exactly what I want. Like at a certain point, you have to be super flexible, but at a certain point as well, you have to know when you see the path, this is what you have to do now. And I had to stick at that point. And at that point for me was final 7. Once final 7 happened, I knew that my path of what was going to happen was going to be Nolan, Jack, then Brian. Once I heard that my name was out there, I knew it had to switch, but then I was going to be locking in with the 4 people that I was locking in with. It was going to be me, Erica, and Ray, and Josh getting to the final 4. And then I hoped in that case that in either case, I would get to the final 3. And in either case, I would have a good shot at making the final 2 no matter what. And that was positioning. I just wanted to put myself in a position to get there. And all we had to do was get to that point. My game is, yes, very much about being adaptable, but also my social game is very deliberate. I kept people at arm's length when I needed to because I wanted to be able to vote out people that without having the moral conscience of it being like sad about voting out a friend or somebody that I love. Like the round where Erica went was one of the hardest rounds in the game for me. And it's not even like she made it difficult. It just was, I didn't want to have to vote her out. That was just hard. She made it as easy as it possibly could be for all of us having to do it. But it was still one of the hardest things that I had to do in the game because I wanted to go as far as I possibly could with her. And even then we got to the end point of it, I didn't want it to be over. I wanted to be able to keep working with her. But the other people that in the game that I didn't have that relationship with, I wanted to keep them at arm's length enough that they would still look at me as an option of maybe we can pick Matt up and do something. And that happened to me a bunch of points in the game where people came to me and said, I'm on the cusp of a move, and all I need is you, Matt. You'll be the person that swings it. That happened to me a bunch of times in the game, particularly with the Tyler vote, where a round earlier he was saying that he wanted me out, and then he was coming to me telling me that I was the fulcrum vote of whether or not he could make something happen. Jack did it to me the round that he ended up going home, came to me and said, you're the difference. You can make the thing happen. And I knew that it wasn't going to be the difference, but the fact that he saw that I was the difference, like in his perception that I was going to be the difference maker in that vote, was exactly the position that I wanted to be in. I wanted to be in the middle. I wanted someone to think that they could get me, and they, even if I wasn't completely working with them at the time that they were talking to me. And that is the key to my game. I want it to be the middle in every possible way. I want to be a middle of the road competitor, not a comp beast that was winning every competition. I want to be a middle of the road social player. I wanted people to think that they could get me and think that they could work with me and think that I was adaptable in that way, but not think that I was 100% locked in with everybody so that I would have to piss off people when I was voting them out down the stretch of the game. And I was middle of the road strategically. I didn't go around bragging about my strategic moves of giving tips to people or telling people about what I was trying to do in that way. I wanted to stay in the middle because that's where you can be the most invisible in the game. That's how you can get to the end and give yourself the chance to show people, all the people that thought that you were invisible in this game, that you weren't doing anything, that you were the piece that they were manipulating to be able to put whatever they wanted you to put or wherever they wanted you to be in the game, that you had agency in your game and you deliberately put yourself in a position to be needed by as many people as possible. And that is one of the reasons why I believe that I should be the winner of Ascendance Season 9. And I respect whatever decision you guys make. I think that I am the right choice. And this has been a dream, like to be able to play this game and to get to this end point. I've never been able to argue my case in front of a jury before. And I feel like I made the necessary adjustments in my game to be able to get to the final two and be able to argue my case. And all I can do is argue the case that I played a great game and I deserve to win. And I really believe that I should be the winner of this season. Thank you.
Alrighty, thank you so much, Matt. And finally, Josh.
All right, I want to highlight the things I think I did really well this season to start. And first, I bought the first power in this game by having people give me chips. I ended up buying 2 different powers. I was the most dominant comp player in Ascendance history. I've won more HR type things than anyone else in a single season, and those were across the board different kinds of challenges. I won the Skittles thing, the food chain thing where Drew, I let you kill yourself even though I knew you were going to die. The charades with Erica, which was like a social game, I think we killed that. The pyramid game, which I needed my social strengths for Jen to let me know what the challenge was ahead of time. The trivia where I studied all day and had flashcards. The loved ones visit where I told my roommate how important it was to me and he tried his ass off and I appreciate him for that. The cast photo thing where I was just locked in. And then I even like got over my my main nemesis cups and held out an endurance challenge at the end to like really bring it home. But the 2 comps I'm most proud of were that first pyramid game where at some point I just gotta call out Jack and Nolan during the Vegas vote. I think you were trying to vote me out that round. But during the challenge, you all were playing the Switch while Matt and Andrew were answering questions, and I was just playing so hard that I was like paying attention to those answers. And I think that's one of the reasons why, Jack, I beat you at the end of that challenge and got me safe and got me through. And I think that like I was just an example of playing hard the whole time. And also I feel like I am a game bot. I will own up to that. But I think my reads on this game are really solid. And I think I proved that in the final challenge of this game with the Ace of Spades and Hearts, where other than Erica, I got all the questions right. And I felt like good about them. And I just feel like my reads on the games and knowing where people were was like really stellar the whole time. And at the end of the day, I can be proud of myself for that. I gambled my vote on the first time I had the opportunity and I didn't use it until the end. And I think that the power of that double vote was that it was a threat that was there and I didn't use it unnecessarily. And at the same time, I kind of like influenced Drew to use his to help save Alex, Ray and Matt on the time that they were voting for Matt. Alex used his and Eric, and we had the blind side on Chris, and in part so that Erica would waste her double vote at that time too, which, you know, I think is just part of the game. 16 out of the 17 votes, I knew it was happening. The only one I didn't was Andrew. And had some influence in having those votes happen. And at the same time, like I know that like some of you had a bitter taste, but I do think I had genuine relationships. Unfortunately, a couple of them didn't make it to jury. Andrew, I gotta shout out my guy because he's on Facebook, the only one cheering me on. Alex unfortunately walked, and Ray, I felt really strongly. And Eric and Matt, I do think we came together at the end and like had a nice relationship. And of course, Jack at the beginning, and yeah, everyone else is here. And at the end of the day, I played so hard because I love the game of Survivor from just like a fan perspective, and I will never get the opportunity to apply something I don't share with people in these games. Usually, I'm type 1 diabetic, and I know there's a lot of different reasons people don't apply for games or do things. But for me personally, that during this pandemic and being scared and like all these different factors, this was like important for me to prove to myself that I am capable of winning a game like this or getting to the end of a game like this. And it's the reason why like I made hard decisions and I had to be okay with it, because I wanted to prove something to me that like I was good enough, or I was able to do it, and I could make those decisions. Like I like watching and have a hard time knowing I'll never be able to do it. And so like that's just kind of like why I'm here. And I'm at the end of the day, I'm sorry to the people that felt like I neglected you at the end. That was more for like my own self-preservation than anything. I'm really proud of the game I played. I played the game that like the only game I could play. I don't think I could do it any other way. And I just really appreciate everyone being here and being honest. And even like whatever the results are tonight, like it's been awesome to get like shit on by a jury. Like that's kind of like it's just been a good experience. And yeah, I'm glad to be sitting here with Matt, and I guess that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Alrighty, this officially ends the jury questioning. The power now shifts into the jury's hands. Jury, you will have 5 minutes to go vote for a winner. You are voting for a winner who you want to win. I say that like 10 times. Make sure that you are voting for who you want to win.
Who's Topaz? We don't know her.
Yeah, so. Alrighty. After this 5 minutes, I will be back.
I will take this time because someone in the VL just noticed, but anyone who's followed along knows that the cast has been color coded in rainbows all season, and tonight they are dressed as their cast photo, except for Nolan, who threw his shirt away, but that's okay because it went to charity. That makes him a good guy.
Alrighty, I have the votes. Yes, I did dress in my cast photo. Before I reveal the votes, we're gonna leave y'all hanging for a minute. I would just like to take this moment to read a message for everyone watching. As many of you know, we have the first season of Ascendance live coming up here soon. With that being said, Ascendance will be taking a break until after that season, so probably until the beginning of fall. Well, not quite. We're here to announce that we will be hosting an alumni-only Ascendance long-form mini. This mini will be a second chances type game. The Ascendance long-form mini will run from April 26th to May 1st, about 2 hours each night. We are doing this for donations for Ascendance Live. We've raised enough money for the prize throughout our merch, and we thank all of you who have bought merch for that. So now we are trying to raise some money for cameras and other things to make the episodes look wonderful. Any donation is appreciated, and you could donate even if you don't want to play. But we just thank you all for your support for the last 20 plus months. And yeah, that information will be posted later tonight. But who wants to read the votes, shall we? So you want to see your name tonight. It takes 4 to win. Obviously, you want the most amount of votes, so the more the better. But we'll go ahead and get started. First vote, Josh. Second vote, Josh. That is 2 votes, Josh. Third vote, Matt. 2 votes, Josh. 1 vote, Matt. Fourth vote, Matthew. That is 2 votes, Josh. 2 votes, Matt. 3 votes left. Fifth vote, Matt. That is 3 votes, Matt. 2 votes, Josh. 2 votes left. Sixth vote, Josharoo. We are tied. 3 votes, Josh. 3 votes, Matt. 1 vote left. What a way to end the season. Seventh vote. And the winner of Ascendance Season 9, Sin City, is the King, Legend, Icon, Josh.
Congrats, man. Congrats, Josh.
Congrats, Josh.
Congrats.
Congrats, Josh.
Thank you.
Congratulations.
That was
Congrats, legend.
crazy.
Congratulations.
Thank you, everybody. All of you, I appreciate it. This has been a roller coaster, and I couldn't be more grateful. I guess that's it. I don't know what to say.
Speech.
Yeah, I guess shout outs to Matt. Honestly, like, you came out fighting, like, you're a real brother in this game, especially like towards the end, and after Drew went, like, you were, I don't know, I just like really have a good connection with you, and I feel strongly, and the fact that it went to 4-3, like, I couldn't have sat here. I mean, I'm so thankful, right? It wasn't right, no offense, because it was just awesome to do this with you. And you know, I know I'm proud of your game, and like, you deserved all 3 of those votes. And just thank the jury and like production and Papa for sending me that random application, and Nicole for just being like so supportive in times when I was like nervous. Just to like hear her voice was like really awesome for me. And yeah, this has just been weird, and I'm sorry to everyone on Facebook for not wanting me to win, and being the least voted fan vote. Sucks for you all, but I'm here, and you can enjoy my cover photo. So thanks to everybody else.
I will say, the more you're in the community, the more votes you'll get. I also want to do a small shout out. This season we did the viewers draft a little bit different, and we had the viewers bet on you. So you'll see when you get in there, but everybody had a 2-chip, a 3-chip, and the 4-chip. So not only did they draft 3 people, but they placed their chips 2, 3, and 4 on it. Matthew and Nicole this season just picked people we thought that were fun, with no goal to win, because production has won every single viewer's draft. But this season, JG literally drafted and called the entire final 3 perfectly. He had Rayanne with a 2-chip, Matt with a 3-chip, Josh with a 4-chip. He really trifected the viewers draft. So Prod won again. Sorry, viewers. We've had so much just really great positive feedback from the viewers lounge on this season. I've had obviously good feedback to you guys off camera all season, but I will say this was one of the best seasons. I really encourage any production to cast any member of season 9.
Not Drew.
I am the only person that likes Drew. I'm not for sure why. Maybe Rocky likes him too, but he's in retirement anyway, so you can't cast him. He says he's retired. We'll see. I loved you guys. Very impressed with your commitment to the game, and just being active, dressing up, commenting, staying engaged. Just really, really love this group. And I hope you guys stick around for the awards, and all those little nuggets that we'll give. Not golden nuggets, but nuggets we'll give out at the awards ceremony after this.
So once again, huge congratulations to Josh, and also congratulations to Matt for making it to final 2. We are going to sign off here. Thank you all for watching. If you want